Kia ora, greetings, and welcome back to the podcast. It is good to be here. Today's guest, it was the first to go through with a master's in his chosen degree, and when we say he was the first, he was literally the only one who did it, kind of as like a trial to see if the Masters of Applied Science, focusing on sports nutrition, would be a hit. He talks about his time at the Super Rugby franchise, the Auckland Blues, and now as the sports nutritionist at the Counties Manukau Rugby Academy. A lot of today's chat is focusing on him as a practitioner and a human in that space, as well as some practical tips that you can give or you can go through to actually help younger athletes and all types of athletes become better in their chosen field. So we talk a little bit about his well-being as well, and the challenges that are involved in that sort of field. So absolutely amazing chat today, and we hope you enjoy it with my man, Mr. Tira Phillipson-Puna. BSci, or like a Bachelor of Science in, and then what was your area that you focused on?
The main focus was sports nutrition.
Yeah.
And the reason I did the BSci is because it was like a bit of a hybrid between exercise physiology and sports exercise nutrition, which kind of caught my interest too much.
That's right, because that's where I met you.
Yeah,
I met you like when we did exercise physiology together. That one paper that people didn't like and happened to be one of the more difficult ones, but it's also one of the papers that I think brings a lot of it kind of like separates the people who just do nutrition and then end up doing like sports nutrition.
Yeah.
And why was like sports nutrition something that you're just like, fuck, that's me. That's what grabbed me.
Why was it something that I like? Well, because I think a lot of sports nutrition is quite not important to most teams, which it actually should be. Yeah. Because like you're fueling the performance, and if you're not putting the right fuel, then how you're supposed to go for, like say for like a run, how you're supposed to last the whole entire time. Because there is a bit of a time where you can just go on like fumes, but like if you want to be in the top 10 or something, then fueling properly and getting the proper nutrition in is going to set you up to get to those higher standards and higher accolades.
For sure.
Reckon, yeah.
And how did you get from that point? Because I remember when people wanted to work with sports teams, it was always just like, I want to be the trainer. Like, how did you go from wanting to be the trainer or not even having that as a thought to actually thinking, nah, actually sports nutrition is probably more important than actually the exercise part of things? Well, I think, complementary, sorry.
Well, I think like the trainer side of things was getting quite saturated. There was like a lot of trainers. I was like, I probably wouldn't crack it, so might as well try the sports nutrition side. And because I saw, it was like funny because I saw a video on YouTube about Cat Dairy, All Blacks sports nutrition. I was like, I could do that job. And I could do well with the boys, just working in that kind of sport field. Yeah.
And going for that sort of thing rather than like you never thought of going clinical for like dietetics or anything?
I did look at it, but like honestly, at the end of my BSci, I wasn't really thinking about postgrad. Yeah. It wasn't until I was doing an internship for this research project looking at glycemic index.
Cool.
And glucose response that the PhD student there was like, you should really go postgrad or you're not going to get too far in nutrition.
Oh, true.
And then I was like, okay, I'll have a think about it. And then she was like, just have a meeting with Catherine and see what options that you could look at.
Yeah. And that's Catherine Black for everyone listening who knows that pretty much everyone who's gone through this degree has talked about Catherine Black and how she's like set up a lot of pathways for a lot of different people. Because she ended up being your supervisor, right?
Yeah, she was one of my supervisors, yes.
And so for that glycemic index one, was that like a summer project or was it like a honours or?
Yeah, it was a summer project that I just got an email saying we needed students to do it, and I was like, I'll do it. Yeah. And then from there, I just went on to go into postgrad. Yeah.
And what was that like? What did you end up having to do as part of that project?
A part of that project, so I'd take finger prick blood samples and also just data entry for diet records, which was quite meddling, but hey, get paid for it. I was like pretty happy to do it.
And that's where you have to start for a lot of it, and I think that's what a lot of people now don't really think about. Even with like internships and all that sort of stuff. You go into these different teams and everyone's like, oh, he's working for the Blues, but half the time it's like you're having to get there early to set up, or you're having to pack down after, or like doing very, very small jobs, but that's how you earn your way into everything.
Yeah, I think that's like a lot of people think like going into high performance sports is quite a glamour job, but it's not really. Like if you get paid, it's like pretty average, but and early morning starts and then late morning finishes. It's not really like a typical 9 to 5. Like you're always working. Like you're working around the clock.
Yeah.
If it's not at the Blues or at the office, you're working outside trying to design like resources or anything, or like get on players' backs to pick it up and something like that.
Yeah, and on top of that, you're trying to survive.
Yeah,
like
that's
you might
the
have
one,
to, you might have to pick up a side job or something, just so that you can pay your way.
Yeah,
as well.
especially through like internship, because you don't get paid for nothing. Like they might give you a little help there and there, but it's pretty much you're working for free for 8 weeks, something like that.
And where in your heart did you know? Did someone kind of guide you and just say that this is how you're going to have to do it, or was it just something in you where you're just like, this is my only way in?
Yeah, pretty much. It was like, this is my only way in kind of thing. Catherine told me, like, if you want to crack it, you got to be an intern and stuff. And then that's where she introduced me to Dane Baker. So when she introduced me, I had to interview to be an intern at the Blues, and he was like, oh yeah, I think you'll do well. And then I got the job to go up to the Blues. Yeah. So tell
us about that process. So how old were you at the time, and what were you kind of thinking that you were going to sign up for?
I think it was around 23, 22.
So towards the end of your
towards the end of my my masters. So I thought I was signing up to something like, it's just going to be like just a pre-season, just to do much there, just make shakes and everything for the boys. But it was a lot more than I expected. A lot more dishes than I expected to do. A lot of prep, and then by the end of it, I was given like the full responsibility of like preparing game day for the boys and making sure they get the nutrition right. Also just their day-to-day, so make sure they're eating recovery and make sure they're eating breakfast and everything. It was kind of my job to keep on top of them, because when you're a head nutritionist, you only work like 1 or 2 days in the office. So you're only there for 2 days. So Dane was there 2 days, where I was there like 5 days a week kind of thing, 5 to 6. So I was mainly running the whole nutrition side, because I was their first nutrition intern. As well, because they've never really had someone to look after their nutrition side. So I got thrown a bit in the deep end, because I was the first one there as well. So I had to work really hard, especially trying to get everything sorted.
Absolutely. So everyone who comes in after you has it a little bit easier, because you want to set up some sort of principle or like standard that people have to meet, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
So, like, no shade to anyone else coming in.
No, of course not.
But, like, for you having to come into that, so there's a few things that I have to touch on. So we'll actually talk about this experience, because it's huge, and especially being that first one who kind of sets the parameters on what it's meant to be. Because, like, if we have a head nutritionist who's only focusing on maybe, like, providing so much, if they're only there for 1-2 days. So if you're there running the groundwork, you're basically the main port of call. So the first part that you have to kind of get in with is actually building relationships. And having the players actually be comfortable with you. Man, I know what it's like to go into a foreign environment, and like people will say, oh yeah, that's the guy that you go to talk to about this. But they all have their own things going on as well. Like some of them are celebrities, some of them are superstars. Exactly. How do you go in there as like a 23, 24-year-old and just be like, all right, this is what we're doing? Like, did you kind of slowly work your way in, or tell us about that?
Yeah, I slowly worked my way in, because it was pretty like, what would you call it?
Quite daunting?
Yeah, daunting. Yeah. That's the word, going into an environment where the athletes you've seen, like, they were your stars as a child. So, but they're really nice, like, especially the older players.
Of course, yeah.
But I think like most of my job, because like older players don't really worry about too much, because they've been in the system for like years and years. And so they've kind of got their own routine and everything, so you don't have too much to do with them. Just helping them, like, but they're real open and just happy to talk to you about anything. But I think most of my job was working with just like those fringe players, those development players coming through. Especially straight out of school ones, because like a lot of them don't have that knowledge about nutrition, especially like because talent will get you so far, but if you don't have the nutrition, you can't go the extra 5 meters. And especially how like the intensity of rugby is picking up every year, and like it's more fitter. That's when nutrition becomes a bit more important. And so I enjoy working with those development players, because they really want to listen. And they're silent at start, so you got to be quite nice and quite casual. Because that's what I kind of like to do, is to keep it quite casual when we start, and then they get comfortable with me. But yeah, it was very daunting at the start because I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah,
pretty much. And then I think after a couple of months, I kind of got it down packed really.
And did you start to see how like different players would respond to you as well?
Yeah. So so the players that try to hide from me or like duck their head and look away when they walk past me.
Yeah.
And all this stuff. Or like the players that did really good always try and tell me they're doing really good. Like sending pictures of their meals. Like, look, I cooked this last night. Is that really good? And I was like, yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah. Kind of stuff like that.
So you're even working like beyond kind of your time there as well. Like you're having constant communication. If they need to, they can contact you.
Yeah.
So it's pretty full on. Yeah.
So you're always an open book to everyone. Pretty much.
Yeah. And how did you find that, like, especially for your own energy? Is it because like I guess in that time you're not able really to do too much else outside.
Yeah.
Right. So that's like all your focus and that's all you're kind of doing is setting up for what we're going to do for this team.
Yeah, pretty much. So like your main focus, like you don't have many hobbies after that.
Yeah.
So it's just like work, pretty much setting up, preparing for the next one or what we're going to be doing for when they go traveling. And stuff like that. Yeah.
Was there ever a moment for you where you're just like, so there's two moments actually. Was the first moment just like, shit, I'm the wrong person to be doing this job? Did you ever have that?
Yeah, I did. When I first started, because I was like, oh, crap. I don't know how to give advice. I don't know how to lose weight kind of thing. But then, like, the more or less I, like, kind of relaxed and calmed down into the role, the more it kind of came a bit clearer as I do have the skills to pull this job off and, like, I do have the knowledge to help these players get to the top.
Yeah.
I think big thing was Catherine was telling me that. She was always like, just take it slow, find your feet, and just keep going. Like, I know you got this, I know you can do this, or I wouldn't have put you in this role.
Absolutely.
Like,
and it's kind of one of those things where you're just trying to build up as many skills for them so that they can just do the basics, like hammer the basics all the time.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, because pretty much I just let them have control of what they eat. Yeah. I'm just telling them what's good to eat and what looks good, and then just leave them to be creative about it. Because like I don't want to be that person that's just like you have to eat broccoli, rice and chicken every day. Just broccoli, rice and chicken. Yeah. I'm like, nah, you got to have a variety of things, and like sometimes you just have to have a bit of a cheat meal. Yeah. There and there. It's like making a healthy lifestyle. It's like trying to form like performance and a healthy lifestyle together. Yeah. I think it's the big thing that I try and portray, or what we try and portray to the players.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you want them to love it as well.
Exactly. Yeah. If they hate nutrition, they're not going to listen to you. Yeah. Or they're not going to eat. Yeah. And then they're not going to be a good player.
Absolutely, yeah. Because a lot of the stuff, like, it's quite weird when you get someone doing, like, very basic things all the time. They're like, bro, when I, like, eat more veggies, I just feel way better. Yeah. You're just like, cool, man, let's just keep going.
Fine.
Yeah. Like, you don't have to do, like, I think things are just getting way too complicated now. Like, everyone, when they're doing, like, even when it comes back to our training stuff, when we go back to, like, the strength and conditioning side of things, we're just like, okay, we just need to like cover this much distance, pull back here, and then just like very, very basic. But everyone else is trying to like pull out like thermometer, like all these different things, and I'm just like, we're not even doing the basics right. Yeah, let's just focus there, and then we'll worry about all that other stuff if we nail the basics. Like the 90% of the stuff that you should be doing. Yeah. So on top of that, so that was the first moment. The moment was just like, nah, man, I don't have this. But then realizing you do have it, and then the second moment, was there ever just a time where you're like, all right, this is way too full on. I don't think I can see myself carrying on with it.
Yeah, it was about, I was like halfway through my internship. Yeah. So we had to do a game day, and they were leaving to go to South Africa at 2 a.m. Yeah. And then, like, so we had to prep that game day. And then once we finished that, then we had to move on to packing everything to go there. And I didn't end up finishing until like 2 when they were flying out. Yeah. So through that, because that was pretty full on for me, and then the next day I had to wake up and do the academy stuff again for the Blues. Yeah. So just doing getting their players ready and correct, and that was full on for me. And I was like, I don't know if I can keep going. Yeah, I was losing sleep. Yeah. And then like another big thing also during that like placement, I was also writing my thesis at the same time.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So I was losing sleep. Yeah. And like coming to work tired and everything, so it was pretty full on.
It's an interesting conversation I was having with a friend the other day when we were talking about how I did my like doctorate in getting people active, living healthier lifestyles, all that sort of stuff. And when I was writing my thesis, I was like the antithesis of all of that. Like I was barely sleeping, I was eating shit, and I just like sometimes I'd be like, oh, I've got to do this, oh, I should go to the gym, and I just wouldn't. Yeah, and I'd be like, everything that I'm writing about, I'm not even living right now. And that's the kind of difficult thing where I see, like, in your position there, what you want to do is provide all of these, like, healthier lifestyles and stuff.
Yeah.
But, like, the work doesn't even allow you to do that.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that, because I was just fortunate because, like, my office was right next to the gym, so I pretty much like lived in the office.
Yeah.
So, like, if I needed to have, like, that mental break, say, for some exercise, I could go straight there.
Yeah.
And plus, like, the fridge was always stocked with food because I made sure it was, so I'd just go and grab a feed if I need to.
Yeah.
But, like, it was mentally challenging for me, especially. But got through in the end. Yeah, that was the main thing.
And that's the cool thing being on the other side is, right, being able to see that you can get through it. But during those tougher times, like even just that example there where you had to finish and then just like, I'm not cut out for this. And then even doing your thesis, because I remember like mid-thesis, you're like, there is no way the rest of this is going to finish. Yeah. Like, but then somehow it does finish. What were like some key things that you would go over with yourself just to remind you that like we're going to be fine? Or even like key people or just like activities that you'd get amongst?
Like, honestly, it's just down to Catherine again, Catherine Black, because she was like supporting me. She's like, all right, just do this bit this week and then we'll focus on the next bit next week. So she kind of walked me through it and saying, don't overdo yourself. Like, this is how we're going to be doing it. So she would help me plan it out, really. Yeah. And that's really helped me because, like, I was just like getting stressed and like overworked because like I have to handle this team, and this team, and then also trying to write a thesis on the back of that is pretty full on. Yeah. But yeah, Catherine was like my main rock during that stressful time, just telling me to keep calm and just to keep doing small bits at a time. For sure. And then, and
you trust her too, because she's actually like been through it all. Like,
yeah, pretty much. And like, she's taking a risk because she's putting me as the first person, and like, I'm pretty much the main poster boy through the program. So she's making sure, and it kind of gives me a bit of motivation to be good. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, she's taking a big risk on me, and then she also like helps me through it as well, which is really cool and really supportive.
Cool, man. And then, so from there, do you reckon you'll ever go into like any further study, or are we just going to leave it there for now?
If they paid me to study, then I'd look into it, but not too much at the moment. I think I just want to spend some time like earning an income.
That's it. I mean, being poor, like learning is awesome, but being poor is something else.
That's terrible.
So just on top of that, so being able to go through that team, so we'll just finish up with the Blues stuff, and then we'll go into where you are now. So like going straight into Super Rugby, like that was your first kind of proper placement, and that's like, so for everyone who's overseas listening, we have like club rugby, which most people will be aware of. Then there's a tier above that, which is like your ITM or NPC, so national provincial. So that's just all the different provinces. And then we have Super Rugby, which is like the step just before you get into the All Blacks. So Tira went straight into that environment. So that's like the top. It's just super, super fast. So there's two questions that I have for this one. The first one is that your experience in there. Were there any really cool moments though? Like moments that you'll remember forever that you can tell your children and all that?
Really cool moments. Some real cool moments was like just meeting like my idols, like Ma'anonu and Sonny Bill were really cool. Yeah. And just being like training dummy for some of the time. That was really cool moments. And I think when I started seeing players starting to pick up their like nutrition habits, and then they go further into their accolades, like into the All Blacks. Like a couple of them did, which I was really proud of them. Yeah, because like that's like one of the things that holds back a lot of players is getting that nutrition key right.
Yeah. Especially with old preseason, Like everyone's so rough around the preseason, but like a lot of it, they just smash them in the gym.
They
and they
destroy them.
Go on like more and more runs, but no one's really like looked at like, hey, and we also need to look at just bringing these foods back and stuff. Just like little things.
Looking at the recovery. Yeah. Well, the good thing about the Blues is like they had a really good head trainer, so Phil Healy. Yeah. So he was really on board with like nutrition, which is like a thing that you don't get often in elite sports. Is like the trainer on board with the nutrition. So he was pretty adamant at getting the players to make sure they have recovery straight after their morning session, going into their gym session. So they like make sure they plan their recovery around that, and then obviously making sure they have food every single time they're finishing their training session. Sure. So he was really onto it around nutrition and like pushing those around, especially for their performance as well. So it was pretty good to have him on board and pretty like on top of nutrition as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all of that was in a pre-COVID world. So now we're thinking about COVID coming in. So like you were talking about the trip to South Africa, like that doesn't even happen anymore. And our Super Rugby is now just in Aotearoa. Yeah. So we have the competition, which by stats I think is like way faster.
Yeah.
And the recovery is just
way shorter.
Yeah. So how would you? So I mean, I don't know if you're as involved anymore, but you'll be involved with some of the provinces that feed into the Blues. What's the new kind of strategy, or for you thinking about trying to make sure we're keeping these people as adequately recovered as possible?
Well, we're just trying to feed them to make sure that they recover from their games, so they can able to train on the Monday.
Yeah.
I think we lessen the exercise load a bit more, so like they're a bit more lighter in the start of the week, and then start building up. Yeah, closer to the end.
Yeah,
but I think, especially for provinces, they got to be like ready to give them players.
Absolutely.
So, so we got to prep them, make sure they're fit, and make sure that they're eating well. It's definitely good, because a lot of these teams just like, oh, we're out of player. Can we use this one? And we're like, oh, okay, here you go. Just like shovel them onto them.
Yeah, because I read a stat. I think it was that it's the same prevalence of injuries, so the same number of injuries, except the severity of the injury is way higher.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
so the recovery time is a bit longer.
Yeah, exactly. So some of them, I think it's more season-ending injuries, and that's just because the impact and the load is so high, and that's just, I mean, I guess it's testament to how we play rugby here in New Zealand.
Yeah,
right?
And the intensity is just so much higher.
Yeah.
Because you're pretty much playing like a second 15 All Blacks team like every week. There's no relax team especially for the Super Rugby franchises at the moment. So they got to be on top and like able to manage like loads of their stars. So they got to like regress them a bit, give them a bit of a break, because they can't be playing full rugby.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So from there, so that was your time with the Blues, and you're still feeding into that Blues by working with the academy. So we'll move over to your academy stuff, and from the stuff that you were talking about at the beginning, it kind of sounds like that's kind of where you thrive. It's working with people who you can see as like developing them into really, really good players. Yeah. So how long have you been working with that crew that you're with now?
Academy?
Yeah.
So when I left the Blues, I went and worked for North Harbour Rugby.
Yep.
So I started with their academy. So I was there for like 6 months before I got the job from just fun budget.
Is that just because COVID stuff?
Yeah, and the like budgets they couldn't afford to have me, so the Blues took over.
Yeah.
So I got cut from there. But then I started with Counties Manukau.
Yeah.
So currently there, just currently working with their academy. So be about 3 months that I've been with that academy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So overall, I've been working with academies for like a couple years.
Yeah. What was that period like? Because I know, like, when there's uncertainty, I lose the plot. I don't know. I'm just like, have I made the right decision? Should I like leave? Because you're not even from Auckland, eh?
No.
Yeah, so like you had to move to a brand new city and go through all of that, and just like there's uncertainty around whether you'll secure a job or not. Like, how did you get kind of through that? Or like,
get through that uncertainty?
Yeah.
I struggled because I was like, I didn't know what I was going to do.
Yeah.
I was like, should I continue with nutrition? Yeah. Because at that time I lost my job, so I worked at a gym doing consultations and like lost all my clientele. So I dropped it because I couldn't afford it. And then so I was like, what do I do now? So I picked up like just any job I could find. So I found like a labouring job. Yeah. I was like, I'll just keep through the COVID period because it's consistent. Yeah. And then I got an email saying, oh, we're looking for a new academy nutritionist.
Oh, please.
And I was like, bless God. So I was like, oh, I could jump on that. Yeah. And then that worked out really well.
How long was that period though of you like being unsure?
Unsure, like from pretty much the first lockdown.
Damn.
Yeah, because I was at the first lockdown. I was currently working at North Harbour. Yeah. And then when the lockdown happened, they were like, "Oh, mate, we can't let you get near the players because we want to keep that contact less. So we kind of might have to let you go because we can't really support you through the period." So I was like, "Oh, damn." Yeah. So this is going to be another job gone. So I was like, "Oh, what do I do now?" Yeah. And I was just like, I think my father. Yeah. He told me, he's like, just find a job and just find something that's consistent. Yeah. And then I'm sure you can pick it back up. Just make sure you keep up with like your knowledge around the evidence was a big thing for me. So I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's bloody cool, man. Yeah. Because I just know that Like the easiest thing to do would just been like pack it in.
Yeah.
And just become a full-time labourer.
Yeah.
But like, so you were just doing like any jobs that you could find.
Yeah.
But like you're still trying to read up and just see what's happening in the scene.
So, because I was still kind of working for North Harbour at the same time. So I was like, I was still like making resources for them. So I'd work like, like a 7 till 5 job. And then after that, I'd just go straight onto like research or making developing resources until like 10 o'clock at night, and then just cut it and then wake up for work again the next morning. Whoa. Yeah, it was pretty rough. Yeah, the girlfriend didn't like it. She was like, "You never spend time. You're always working." Yeah, kind of thing. But it was just what I needed to do to keep relevant, because like that's a big thing in the nutrition field, is to keep relevant. Yeah, because you got to keep on top. Well, I see you got to keep on top of your evidence and research and everything. Yeah. So like you can stay current and able to. Oh heck yeah. Yeah. Yes. I mean it's the same in the exercise science world. Like I was out for about a year, and then I came back and all the evidence has shifted. Like what people are focusing on now, the technology that people have. It's just like if you're not staying up to it and you just kind of coast on. Oh yeah, I did like a sports nutrition back in like the early 2000s, or even 3 years. 3 years will put you out so much. So for you to stay relevant, that actually means that you're staying on top of all the new evidence that's always coming out, and that's that's the frustrating thing that we'll get into shortly. But we'll keep talking about where we are now. So when you did get that call up to just be like, yes, we can come in, we need a nutritionist type of person, was it a very similar role to what you had been doing, or quite a bit different? It was quite a bit different. So the role at Counties was a lot more hands-on, and I could spend a lot more time there, because I think at the North Harbour role, all they wanted me to do was just like measure their body comp. Oh, okay. And then try and give them advice during that time period. Yeah. But this one, they want me to measure body comp, keep on top of the players, have one-on-ones with the players, and like try and sort like some sort of plan to get them through the pre-season at the moment. Yeah. And try and build them into like better rugby players. Sure. Yeah, for the club. Yeah. Do you think that it makes it easier for you as a nutritionist coming in who's actually been a footy player your whole time, most of your life? I think it is really beneficial, because like I'm able to relate to the players, and like they feel more comfortable because they're like, oh, this guy actually can relate to me because he's been through the hard yards through pre-season or something like that, and like they feel a lot more comfortable like talking to me about stuff, instead of someone coming in that's like foreign to the sport or anything. They're like, oh, I don't really want to listen to someone that hasn't like done the yards kind of thing. Because you don't want someone talking to you about the pain of a bronco who's never done a bronco. Eh? Exactly. So like when we're talking about trying to get your bronco times up, it's like, bro, you've never done one. You don't know what this feels like. You don't know how hard it is. They're like, you can always push on the fourth and fifth. Like, no, you can't. It's hard. But yeah, so I think that definitely gives you that sort of clout. But like on top of that, also just being like a really good person. Yeah. In general, have you found that there were times where it didn't matter about your knowledge, but it was more just like how you were with them? Yeah. I think a lot of the time at the moment, especially with like academy, it's about how you are with them, because like you can give them like resource after resource after resource, but they'll just look at it and be like, oh, whatever, and just chuck it out. Yeah. So like, so being more than just like a nutritionist, it's like, look, this is how your lifestyle is, how and like looking, because your goal is to make the super. Yeah. And it's like, well then maybe we got to start changing nutrition, because you're not going to be able to last to get to that level because of your injury or anything like that. And like that's where you got to break it down to. It's like make it real for them, like make it sure like if you're able to eat good, then you're able to perform at a super level. Yeah. And I think that's a lot of people miss out on. Yeah. Yeah, because like a lot of people think, oh, I run heaps, I got the talent, but you can't really outrun a bad diet. Oh, absolutely, yeah. And do you think that that's kind of becoming a bit more popular now? Like people are actually a bit more aware of it now? Yeah, so it's starting to pop up a lot more, which is really cool to see. Like, I think a lot of like schools are starting to focus like maybe, we need to look at the nutrition and stuff like that. And that's where we kind of need to be focusing on, especially looking at like a performance nutrition, because if you want to build good athletes, you got to start when they're at high school, because that's getting more and more like, what do you call it, more and more professional. For sure. Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah. So like if we start there, then when they go to academy, they have some sort of idea of how to progress their nutrition through. Especially this year, because like a lot of my athletes are from Wesley College. Yep. So they eat what they're given, pretty much, because it's a boarding school. Yeah. Yeah, so a lot of them, when they come to us, they don't know what to eat.
Yeah.
And then, like, they don't know what should I be eating. I don't know what I'm doing, kind of thing. They feel quite lost and quite stressed out from it.
Yeah.
Because, like, nutrition should be an easy thing.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's what we're missing, is not hitting those high school athletes with the proper knowledge and stuff.
It's almost like they come in as 18, 19-year-olds and they have to like take a couple steps back just to get them up to that level, And
pretty much.
There's a bit of a lag period between, because that was at an age like 16 through 18, like those last couple of years of first 15, where a lot of it was just you were super youthful and like powerful and all that. And you could get through that. But then when it gets to a point where you make academy 19, 20, and everyone's about the same, you need to have those little differences between you, which is the little
those
details
5%ers show to the coaches that, like, you know, I'm here for the long time, not just here for a short time.
Yeah. Man, that's so cool. And what's like for you? What do you think the key? What do you think are some of the key misconceptions around like performance nutrition in general? Like things that you run into quite a bit, where like someone's just like, "Oh yeah, I heard that we have to do this," and it's just like, "Where the heck did you hear that?"
A lot of them are like, "Oh yeah, we need to eat. We need to take heaps of creatine to get bigger and stuff." It's like, well, if you don't have the basics right, then the supplement's going to do nothing.
Absolutely.
Because I always look at it like a pyramid.
Yeah.
If the foundations are like basic portion control, fruit and veg, hydration, and like eating 3 meals a day at least.
Yeah.
And if you're not doing those right, then supplements are not going to help. Yeah. I think that's a lot of things that I see from the boys. Or another big thing is I need to eat more protein to get bigger.
Oh, yeah.
Which is like a misconception again, because giving a good like protein store and a protein pool is good for like muscle recovery and stuff, but like you need to be eating like more like carbs or like fats and stuff to gain that extra energy surplus. Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of players miss out, because they're like, I'm not getting bigger and I'm having like an extra chicken breast for a snack at night. I'm like, oh, that's not going to help you, cuz. Yeah.
But then not even looking at the overall energy intake that they have.
They
during
just
the
focus
day.
on the protein. It's just like bloody hell.
Yeah.
Because it's like the funny thing about protein is like it's like the lowest calorie option.
Of course.
And it satisfies you quicker. So
you're not going to eat as much.
Yeah. Exactly.
So like with that, do you find then that it's one of those things where people undereat a lot more? Yeah.
A lot of people undereat. So like a lot of my players struggle to just eat constantly throughout the day. Yeah. Because that's a big thing that you try and get to them, is the eating frequency. Yeah. So a lot of them will just have like missed breakfast, they have like a lunch, maybe dinner if they feel like it. Because a lot of them struggle with like having that amount of fuel. Yeah. But like they start picking it up pretty quick, like through the preseason especially, because they're like, oh, I need to eat more because I'm tired and stuff like that. And like that's slowly been working, starting building those habits of eating more frequently.
That's cool. Yeah, I think I wonder if it's like a two-way thing, because I remember if you ate too much, like when you were told when you were younger, if you ate too much, like you'll get fat, you'll get slow, all those different things. Yeah,
exactly.
Whereas now, like just because of the volume, like the sheer volume of training you're doing, you're like you could probably pretty much eat anything and you'll just be scraping enough. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely for like some players. Yeah. Because like some players, like they're real skinny and they need to be a bit more muscly. Yeah. They're struggling to eat, so we like try and push them through like smoothies and stuff. Fill it up with like peanut butter, yogurt, and like mass gainer and like full cream milk. Sometimes even chucking like a can of coconut cream just to get those calories up. Because that's a big thing. Because when you're trying to gain weight in the preseason, it's really hard because like the training load's so high.
It's huge. Yeah.
So you got to be constantly eating and eating and eating, but not eating like bad foods like fish and chips, for example. Like you. It's good to eat calorie-dense foods, but like we want them also to be nutrient-dense food to help with that recovery and doing all those micronutrients and all those good things.
So I hate to bring you back to your very first lecture in nutrition, but just for people who are listening and you just threw in calorie-dense and then nutrient-dense, can you just break those two down and then we'll continue?
So like calorie-dense is like foods that are like really high in fat. Yep. That could be anything from like saturated fats to good fats. Yep. But nutrient dense is like foods like avocados, which are full of micronutrients. Yeah. And those micronutrients are the ones that are going to help fuel your recovery and making sure like reducing the muscle soreness, like getting antioxidants in and everything like that.
Yeah.
So instead of players just binging out on like junk food and everything, we want them to be eating like the good foods, but that are calorie dense foods as well.
Yeah. So they're the ones that have similar energy intake overall, but these ones have like properties that will actually help with different systems in your body.
Exactly. Yeah. Like that's the best way to put it.
Yeah. That's cool, man. Because I think, far out. I remember back in the bodybuilding days, when people were like, oh, you got to eat to get swole. Like, everyone just eat everything.
Yeah.
And they're wondering why
I'm so fat. Or I've got no like six pack.
Or they're like super lethargic. Like all the different things that actually does to your body. Like food actually, like if you eat the wrong meal, your training output goes down. And then after that, like because your training output went down, your recovery system's like all messed up. Like it all plays into each other. A lot of people don't think about, like they just see food. They still see exercise or the training as the most important part. But they actually are meant to go hand in hand with one another.
Exactly.
You eat this meal so that you train this hard, and then you eat that meal to recover from that training. But like all of it, if it stuffs up, if one of them isn't really balancing up.
Exactly, because like in the end, you're trying to just fuel the performance.
Yeah.
I think that's the big thing I try to get across is like what you eat is what you're going to use to fuel your performance.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. And what was the difference like having access to like proper resources? So like you're trying to fuel up down here as a Prem's player, and like all you can get is your hands on like a chalky milk and stuff. But being able to go into that environment where I've got the funds.
The budget and everything, it's unreal. It's so cool. Well, and the Super Rugby, going back to the Blues, like they had a bigger budget, so like they were getting like nuts after the recovery and like getting protein shakes and like fruit for days and stuff like that. But like going into a like semi-professional like an NPC team, they don't have that budget, so you got to like it's back to that like Prem's kind of way where you're going to try and siphon what's the cheapest option we could go. And so that's big difference to me, and like that's like a challenge but also an interesting challenge, because it's like how can we fuel these players for the cheapest possible price, and like
and that because that's probably going to cater to majority of the population as well. Like we probably have majority of the population who are like really, really promising players, but they sit within that sort of demographic anyway. That could be really, really cool. So are you putting resources together for that sort of thing?
Just like quick and easy things that you could do with like a little small budget. I think that's like, because like a lot of these resources that you target for your academies or anything has to be like the cheapest possible way that they could get fuel instead, because they're probably like, because when they come out in the academy, they probably just have like either started studying or just started being an apprentice. So you got to be making sure that it's cheap as possible for them to afford it, because that's how you're going to get your buy-in from players. Is like they're not going to eat foods like quinoa, for example, or or like
I didn't even know what quinoa was until like probably 2 days ago, honestly.
True. Or like the chia puddings and stuff like that. They're not going to eat like all those like health foods, so you got to keep it down to like, here's some oats. Mix it with a bit of milk, add a bit of yogurt. It's going to be a good breakfast to start you out for the day kind of thing.
So you most of yours is just focusing on like the big meals. Like you don't ever get them down to like having a food scale and all that. You just want them to hit like pretty portion control meals.
So I always give them like a portion plate. So I give them visuals like, your plate should look like quarter vegetables. Quarter carbs, quarter protein, half vegetables. Or half carbs, quarter protein, quarter vegetables. So I always give them that visual. And that kind of helps them like basically like, if I do my plate like that, then it looks really good. So I don't really look at the energy intake too much. I'm just trying to get those the habits right.
Of course.
Like a bit further on you start looking at that, like that's because it's a bit more advanced. But when you have like base level players, like they're not going to know what a calorie is. Or they're not, I'm going to have to get this much calories in a day kind of thing. It's just kind of overcomplicated it for them. Where it's like, you should be just getting 3 basic meals right, 2 to 3 snacks. And then you should be good. And then also looking around like a pre-training snack and also looking at the recovery. So
you're telling them what types of foods you should have for kind of like each times of the day.
Exactly.
Man, just keep it basic, Because what we found in the psychology of a lot of habit formation stuff is that the more steps there are, the least likely they're going to do it. Like if it just seems like it's way beyond what they can do, they just resort back to what's like I know how to do this. I'll do this. Yeah.
Yeah, so they just go back to their normal. But if you like just show them like it's really easy.
Yeah.
Like these meals are really good because it's real simple.
Yeah.
And then they'll pick it up pretty easily.
Yeah, man. That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
And in that way, it's a bit more accessible, like I said, to everyone. And usually for the younger players coming through, like sometimes they also have their families involved with a lot of what they're doing. So like they're not the ones necessarily cooking, but if you can take that resource and like maybe it can start to work for the family as well, you're like then tapping into another, like not just of athletes, but now we're looking at community stuff.
Yeah, looking into their family kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing because a lot of players still living with their mum, so their mum doing all their cooking, and sometimes they get really annoyed. And they're like, when you try and change their recipes, they're like, oh nah, he's gonna be fine. And I've been feeding this for him for years, and he's been just as good as a rugby player. It's just like, well, now he's at a higher level, so he's kind of got to be getting the right foods in. And if you kind of slowly like break it down for them and stuff, like cause they find like, oh, I can't be affording all these fancy foods and stuff. You're like, oh, well, just look at the foods that you can buy at the moment. Yeah, or look into like eat in season kind of thing. Yeah, then it kind of makes it a bit easier for them. Yeah, and like then they buy in because like that's a big thing I feel in like sporting worlds or even actually just in community is the buy-in, because if it looks too complex or if it just looks too foreign, they're not going to do it. Yeah,
absolutely, man. That that buy-in is huge, and that was where a lot of my research is around how do we get more communities engaged. Yeah, and it's not even about like how cool the program is. It's pretty much what you're talking about, where like the food that we eat, like you're not going to have like some 5-star restaurant food all the time. It's just going to be like, well, how do we actually get you to eat the food first? Yeah. Like we can have all the coolest recipes, all the coolest, all these different things. But if they're not even touching it, then it's just like, that was a waste of a resource.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just like waste of time.
So with your job and actually like going from the intern, but by the sounds of it, your internship was way different from anyone's I've ever heard. Most intern I get in, they like and talk about it. They're just like, oh yeah, I was just shadowing, but like you got thrown under the chop right away.
Yeah, but that was like the good thing about like Phil and the Blues is like he like had full trust in what you're doing, because he's like, I know that you graduated, you have the knowledge. He starts like guiding you a bit, but then after that he's like, I have full trust in you.
That's so cool, man.
And that was really cool. Yeah.
And then after that, so now in your job now, because I guess you still don't have full reins as the even though you were doing the internship and you had all that freedom, I guess, when you're with the Blues, but now in your new role you're actually like top dog.
Yeah, pretty much around nutrition. Yeah, it was pretty frightening to get that role. I was like, oh, what do I do? Yeah. Kind of thing. But then that comes down to I got a lot of support. Yeah. Like my support network's really strong. Yeah. And they like just telling me, all right, do this first and then focus on this a bit later on. And like that's what's really helped me, is just having a good support network. Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of the players are just going to be sponges because they have no idea, right?
They absolutely have no idea, and they'll listen to whatever you say kind of thing.
Yeah. Now, we'll just think about people who are listening to whatever they say. Now, I've heard some things around the block about different athletes who, my trainer said, I should do this. And it's like very faddish. Yeah. Like that's something that I think we don't give enough kind of credit to right now, is that the fact that even though you've graduated and other people have graduated as well, people's biases kind of come into their practice.
Exactly.
Like, for example, if someone loved keto, they'll come in and they'll try to get everyone on keto. They're like, yeah, it's the best thing for you. And they'll only look for evidence that kind of backs that up. And I'm not saying keto's bad. I'm just saying in terms of the evidence, like your biases will confirm what type of evidence you look for. How do you make sure that, like, what are the things for you where you're just like, no, make sure that we're staying to what the evidence base actually says?
So like I don't try and challenge them. I think that's a big thing people try and do, like, nah, this is the right way kind of thing. It's just like, all right. So I kind of just have like a chat with them, like, why do you think this is working for you? And I try and explain them, like, so like, for example, keto is like, okay, you're not eating enough carbs. And then I'm like, well, look at your performance stats, like your bronco time's gone down, you're tired during training and stuff, and that could be down because you're cutting out a food group. Right. It's like, it's more about trying to explain to them that what they're doing is not helpful, or like what not helpful for the team as well, because like if you get a real senior player that's onto onto those fad diets kind of thing, that's where you kind of struggle.
Oh, for sure.
But I haven't had that yet, but like I've heard in the past that it has happened.
Yeah.
And then like I think the nutritionist did like just a big talk like about why we do this.
Yeah.
And I think that's like a big thing, like why we eat like this, and like not discouraging someone, but it's just like showing them it may not work for everyone.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the way. Yeah, it's just like because that's when we come back to just like, oh, every individual is going to be different, but like we can't just assume because this person's doing well that it's going to work for you. Because I do think you're right. Because anytime you try to challenge someone, bro, you like that person gets more and more like, I'll never listen to you. Like,
I'm gonna convert everyone, and it's just like, fuck.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good way of going about it.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing, when you do get up to that sort of level, when you do have a lot of people who have just a lot of respect within the team, challenging that person could like really unravel a lot of the stuff in the team, eh? Yeah. And when you're going through and dealing with the younger students coming through as well, how do you like what are the main things that you're doing to keep them just like doing the proper things and also just being good humans? Like for some of the younger students coming through, like the 18, 19-year-olds who like their dreams or aspirations are to hopefully become a Super Rugby player, but then also push into the All Blacks. Yeah. With you kind of being like a younger male, I'm guessing, and a younger male who will look like a lot of them in terms of their like ethnic backgrounds as well. Do you kind of feel yourself taking a mentor role at some point?
Yeah, sometimes I do find like I do go into that role a lot more because I understand like maybe when the parents buy fish and chips all the time, being on that budget constraint. I do help some of those players through because like I've done it. I've been through it
for sure,
and it's just like so I get a bit more mental skills, but we have a mental skills coach there, and she helps quite a lot as well, which is really good. Yeah, and in terms of the nutrition and stuff, I just kind of handle that and like try and keep it as close to their normal nutrition as possible. Just like swapping up. Make it easier. Yeah. It's like, instead of getting like the bad fish, you could get the crumb fish, for example. It's not trying to attack their lifestyle, their habits, and try and change it to this like organic only food kind of thing.
Absolutely. Did you catch this fish yourself? Oh, no. Can't eat that, bro. I actually remember a story about the fish and chips. Like I was being like a PT and a trainer in a clinic, and these ladies were talking about fish and chips, and I walked past and they just looked so embarrassed, and I was like, fish and chips, and then they like honestly looked like they would rather die right now. And I said, where'd you get it from? I'm looking for a good fish and chip shop. And they're just like the ease on their face when they found out like you're allowed to do this, but just like making sure like you're not telling anyone they're bad people. You're just like, okay, like you can do that, but like sometimes you have to just switch things, like that sort of thing. Because I think the old school way, like the old school mentality used to be like, you motherfucker, like what the hell are you doing?
Why are you eating like this? It's kind of thing. And like that's like a big thing for like younger players is like know how to control yourself around those temptations, because like it's all good to have fish and chips sometimes over the week and stuff, but it's like moderating yourself. So maybe it's like, I might have like some like yogurt and berries before we eat fish and chips, so I don't eat as much. It's kind of thing. It's just trying to control that overeating. I think that's a big thing that I look into the players, because they get like scared when they're like, when they eat KFC, and they tell me about it, and they're like, oh, sorry, Tira, I ate KFC. It's like, it's all good. Like, it happens sometimes. It's like, so what are we going to do next time? Or like, what are we going to do next? It's like, getting to reflect on their choices. Yeah.
And do you think that because you have that sort of approach, like they will actually tell you if they had KFC?
Yeah.
Some people would just say, no, I didn't. Yeah. But like these people actually come to you
some players do come like try and hide it from me.
Yeah.
Because like I remember I had like one player in the Blues. He like, because we used to get them to take pictures of their meals. Yeah. He had like a gallery full of foods, and you'd like pick a picture and post it up. And we kind of caught on pretty quick. Yeah, but like, they're a bit more open because like they have that 24/7 contact with me, so they have my phone number, and they're like, I'm gonna have takeouts tonight. What could I have? And kind of stuff like that. Yeah.
Do you how do you manage that, like for yourself, just to like have time off and to like properly relax, so you don't actually resent the job. Because if they have that access to you all the time, like there must be a time where you get a text and you're like, no, you bastard. Like, I'm just trying to chill.
Yeah, sometimes when I get them, I'm like, oh, nah.
Yeah.
So I try and tell them, like, if you text me after 8, I'm not going to reply.
Yeah.
Because I do need that chill time. But, like, I enjoy my job. I love helping people.
Yeah.
And especially, like, helping athletes as well.
For sure.
Yeah. Because I like to see them succeed.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big thing, just part of me.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
That's really, really cool. I think when you can find a job like that, it's just like those texts, as long as you have that relationship with the people, because they're not just random people like, hey, I saw on Instagram you do this, like, do you think I should eat, do you think eggs are bad for you? But like, these are people who just, they want to be better, but you also were part of their journey of trying to make them better, right? Yeah, that's really, really cool point there. And just thinking about yourself going forward, like, how long do you think you're going to be in this sort of, like, do you think you've found that this is where you want to be? Not the place, but just like this sort of role?
Yeah, I feel like this, because I had doubts at the start of the year, because I was like, I don't know if I want to keep doing this, because I'm not getting much of an income from it, or like a successful amount of money from it. And I was like, but when I started getting more and more into the role, I was like, I actually enjoy this a lot more than labouring. I was like, I'd rather do this because it challenges me. Yeah. And I like a challenge. Yeah. And I like being in sports environment because I've enjoyed sports since I was young. And I feel like it's something that I'll keep going at, I reckon. Yeah. Because at the moment it's just continually evolving and becoming a better and better environment for sports nutritionists or sports dietitians at the moment, because at the start it was really full on. Like, you go and you know everything. Like, if you're like pretty much green to the whole idea of sports nutrition, like, they expect you to know everything and why these athletes not healthy, why these athletes fat, or like why these athletes still small and stuff. But now it's kind of getting a bit more like, oh, I understand, like, this is your first time into the role. Yeah. So they're getting a bit more conscious around like your skill level.
And do you find that, like, now that because there's a bit more clout kind of going towards nutrition, and I guess every team's going to be slightly different depending on who their head trainer is and like the doctor and all that sort of stuff, but I find now in that environment, the higher environment, everyone's actually feeding into each other's practice. It used to be where like the head S&C would like do stuff and then they wouldn't even know why the hell the nutritionist is doing what they're doing. Yeah. And then like the doctor will just be able to see them when they have an injury and like the physios and stuff. But now they're kind of all working in together to try to help. Are you starting to see that a bit more?
Yeah. It was definitely like pretty prevalent before I started, but it's a lot more like interrelated. Like, I'll talk to the physio, sorry, which players are injured and how long they're injured for, and then we look at their weight, because a lot of it comes down to like injury prevention. Like, if we can keep their weight down, then there's a less pressure on their injury. And then also the same with the trainer. Like, look, this is how hard these sessions are going to be, so how can we tailor their recovery around these sessions? Because if it's an easy session, you don't need to go full on like protein shakes, smoothie and everything like that. It could be easy. It's just like, just a piece of fruit and like a nut bar. Could be just enough. And that's been really cool. And then like able to work with like the mental skills coach. Yeah. Like, okay, they're struggling, they're overeating a lot, or like they struggle with alcohol. Like, how can we tackle that problem on that player? And like, it's really cool because like you get a bit more input in different parts, but you also like learn a bit more from each role as well.
Heck yeah. Yeah, man. It's like, I think the psychological side of things, like the eating side and the training side, like people really don't even think about that. Like, some of them people are doing it as like a coping mechanism because like maybe the environment's so stressful. Yeah. So being able to like tap into all those different things, that's really important.
It's definitely good. It's definitely helping just be mindful of what they're doing. I think players struggle with that. Once they realize like what they're doing, they kind of like back off a bit or like change their habits around what they should do next. Yeah.
And people and the people kind of working alongside you actually respect you as well.
Yeah.
Because that's also when there's a problem, eh? Like, if you're in the workplace and this guy's like, why do we even have a nutritionist? Like, that's when the rest of it falls down.
Yeah. Well, it's also, again, because I'm really fortunate that like the people that I work with are quite on board with nutrition. Yeah. But because you got to go in there pretty like, I know my stuff, because because when you're coming in green, fresh out of uni, they're like, oh, he's just not going to be good. He's not going to be able to keep up and everything like that. Yeah. So you always got to be like in a professional environment, you got to be on your best. Yeah. If you make a mistake, you got to improve on it the next time. Yeah. That's like how intense it can be in those high performance environments.
You kind of have to come in with like this weird energy, like this, even though you don't know what you're doing. Yeah. You're just like, I know what I'm doing. Yeah. And like, just really sell it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because I'll get them behind you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you sound confident, then they'll go forward with you. Yeah. But then it's like, oh yeah, don't know it. Then you go into the back and try and research it really quickly. And learn about it for the next time.
Yeah, that's the way to go sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes I think that's just the way, like even with my job now, a lot of the times like some of the stuff just flies straight over my head, but I just sit there. And I think it's because I don't have this like, I have this willingness to learn. So like, even if I don't know it now, I'm just going to be like, I'm going to know this. Like, I'll nail it next time. I promise. Yeah.
Yeah. That's definitely a big thing that like I try and do is like, I know my boundaries. Yeah. And it's like, all right, I just got to learn this thing. Yeah. That's just like, I just want to be better. Like, yeah.
So do you think going forward, working with like similar, actually that's one question I should probably ask you. You aren't from Auckland.
No.
Who's your actual Super Rugby team?
Super Rugby.
Wait, should we say this or are we going to get you into trouble?
Nah, it's all good. They don't pay me anymore.
Oh, yeah, fair.
So my actual first Super Rugby team was Crusaders.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was hard Crusaders. Right. Because I even like when I was younger, I went through the academy.
Oh, okay, true. Yeah.
Yeah, well, like fringed it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've been a pretty strong Crusaders fan for a while. Yeah. And then when I moved to the Blues, I kind of supported the Blues a bit more.
And the allegiance, it's a weird thing, like because you're working for them, but your heart lies elsewhere.
Oh yeah, but to be honest, I don't even really believe too much about allegiances. I just enjoy footy.
You just enjoy footy, yeah, that's the way.
Yeah, because like, I've moved around with so many teams. Like I don't care what province you are. I'm just here to make you the best player that you can possibly be.
Exactly. Yeah. So like when you step into that environment, you're just everyone who comes to you. Like your job is to make them better. Yeah. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter what team you're part of. But like my job is to make you better.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's the cool way to be.
Yeah.
Nice. And do you reckon you'll like try to line up something a bit higher than Super Rugby? So like say maybe it's not necessary for All Blacks, but like maybe going international or something?
Yeah, I'd want to go international. Like, there's just more funding overseas around it because New Zealand's such a small country. People forget like we don't get funded crap. We got to really struggle to find sponsors or anything or people that want to fund our programs. But yeah, definitely goal is to go overseas. I think just like work over in those environments. Yeah, because when I was at the Blues, I kind of had a touch with it because I was working with a Japanese team that was touring around New Zealand. Yeah, and so that was interesting. So I kind of got a foot in the door there, and just helping them out over there. And so I definitely want to go overseas. Yeah, just a lot more that I could do. Yeah, and then it's just better funded.
Absolutely, and it's probably, I mean, you see the difference that people have when they go overseas, and they just get a new brand of footy as well. Like if you can bring that back somehow and just be like, oh, we did this there, and because like, man, some of their like places that they train and what they have access to is just a dream.
Amazing.
It is a dream.
Even their semi-professional teams, like they still have better facilities than our like NPCs.
Oh yeah.
Even like club teams.
Yeah. I was gonna say that like their high schools. Yeah. Some of their high schools just have like ridiculous facilities for, and like these people are like average players in terms of like what we have here. So if we were to have those resources, like would we be as good as that? But to go over there and just like make the most of being in that environment, heck yeah.
Yeah, because I had a friend that worked in a university in Texas. Yeah, and like they would like prepare all their food for the day and then just like drop it off and they just come and pick it up and they'll eat it.
What?
Yeah. So I was like, oh my God.
Oh man.
He's like, yeah, the job's pretty easy, just helps him like one-on-one and stuff, but mainly the time he's just like, these are the foods for them for the day. Yeah. And then they just eat it.
Man, and they get mad ass crowds as well.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you come to our varsity team, you get like 10 people on the sideline.
Even like NPC, you get like 30 people.
Yeah. Oh, even Super Rugby, we're not even packing crowds.
Yeah. Well, at the moment they are because people want to get out there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But like like last year, year before, like when it was Super Rugby with all the different teams. Yeah. The only times we could pack a crowd was the All Blacks.
Or like or even like just New Zealand teams going off each other. When international come, they're like, oh no, it's just a waste of time.
This is a buy, pretty much. Cool, bro. So I just ask everyone one question before we finish up, and that's just to have something to take away, just something where because you're in your practice, you're really, really busy, but you're also doing something that you're passionate about, and during those times, it's really easy to get caught up doing what you're doing. So what is something that you do close to every day, or maybe even every day, that's part of like a routine that makes you feel like you've optimized the day?
I think like one of the main ones is like just to have breakfast every day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just to start the day off right.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool for me.
Yeah.
But the other one is obviously just either do some sort of exercise, either gym, run, or like just training with the boys.
Yeah.
It's a big thing for me, like every day to kind of keep going.
Is there any reason for like the breakfast? Like, is there anything around it that you do, or is it just like you need to have breakfast?
It just kind of gives me like, it just kind of fuels me for the day.
Sure.
Like, if I don't have breakfast, I'm not going to be like working at peak performance.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to talk well, or like, can't think.
Yeah.
So having that breakfast kind of just sets me up like, sweet, now you're ready for the day.
Yeah. You also find that it like helps you kind of take a moment.
Yeah.
Because like you have to be there and have that
pretty
breakfast.
much.
What is your breakfast of choice?
I'm the classic like 5 Weet-Bix and a banana.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
5 Weet-Bix and a banana, and so that's just something to keep you like nice and like that's like that's not you saying that's all I can eat. Like you can definitely go.
Oh, go more, but I'm trying to control myself.
Yeah, good man. And the training can be any sort of exercise that you want to do.
Like most days I like a gym session, but then some of the days like a run's just quite like mind clearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome, bro. And that's been an awesome chat. And I think it gives really good insight to just a lot of what you as a practitioner have to go through. Because like we can talk about the role itself, we can talk about the different teams and what teams want to focus on, but like what we forget about is that these are humans filling these roles.
We like overcomplicate it when we don't even focus on the basics.
Yeah. Man, so I really appreciate you coming in for this chat.
For that.
All the best for the future, and hopefully we get some gears these ways sometime.
I'm still waiting for mine.
Awesome, thanks, brother.
All right, cheers.